The wheel of time turns, and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend.
Hi guys, this is Natasha, aka Natty Willie, and I am back. I am here for the Wheel of Time spoiler review of, you know what, I think I'm gonna try something. Just realize that I'm probably gonna miss a lot of stuff, or just not be able to talk about everything, just because I want to keep this video as short as possible. I will do my best to kind of like really hit a lot of the key points. So for the first episode is Leavetaking. We get introduced to the Emma Fielders, and especially the Fab Five. Definitely have chemistry with each other. So the young men, so Josha, Marcus, and Barney definitely have chemistry with each other. And then Zoe and Madeleine have chemistry with each other. So I did believe that, and I thought, and I was enjoying those scenes that they had together. Now, as far as Emmons Field as a set and stuff like that, I loved it. I also loved the scenes with the lanterns and the initial part of Beltane, the dancing. It was still fun, and the scene with Tam and just like him voicing over like about the turning of the wheel, again, lovely acting. The chemistry between Daniel, Henney, and Moiraine is definitely on point. Rosamund Pike is Moiraine for me now. Like she is, and Daniel Henney is definitely growing on me as Lan. Like I already liked him as Lan in the first place, but just seeing him as Lan, I'm getting with it even more. And plus, yeah, he's kind of hot. And Lan has always been like a good looking dude. Like, let's be for real. Like, he's that old weather dude that you'd be like, oh yes. And that nude scene, or it was pretty much a butt shot, but that nude scene, Lan is like, okay. I don't know if it was a body double or what, but kudos, because I would, especially the first episode like that, you're just gonna like we gonna see your ass, like what? I do like the subtle hints of the power, and then we do see it in a big way, the build up to it, and during Beltane when Moiraine pretty much kicks ass. Moiraine definitely kicks ass, and unfortunately with this first episode, that's where I felt like that one power was used kind of hokey. Not the effect was kind of hokey, because there was like a couple of seconds of scene where she was like bending down and he was like trying to like hit the Lan was trying to hit the Trollocs, and it just felt like the effects were kind of off, and the video was kind of off. So I felt that was kind of hokey, and I don't know if they're gonna be able to fix it, or if it's gonna be fixed by the time it premieres. But that was a concern of mine, because people are gonna be looking at this with a fine-tooth comb, especially my readers, and I definitely don't want them to like shut the whole thing off just because of that one little second of scene, because overall the way that they used the word power overall was definitely really good. So I don't want to, again, give them some grace and like some growing pains here, but again, like especially with episode 2 and 3, the one power, the way that it was used, it was fine enough for me that I feel like they'll get it together. I really enjoyed the listening to the wind that Nynaeve and Egwene did throughout the episode. That initial scene where they're over like a bridge and Nynaeve and Egwene are just slowly listening to the wind, and they hear actually the Trollocs, but they don't understand what they're hearing. I thought that was good, as well as the scene where Egwene actually feels the fade, but she doesn't understand again what she's feeling or what she's hearing, because that was also well done. And when you think about the wind kind of blowing when Moiraine and Lan first got into the Wine Spring Inn, that was also Nynaeve listening to the wind, because I guess that's why she felt hostile, because she felt that wind and it felt like a change that she didn't really want to deal with. So she was like, y'all need to hurry up and get out of here, because I'm not feeling this at all. So I did think that part was well done. And speaking of the Wine Spring Inn, again, that was, I I liked the scene. I enjoyed the scene. I enjoyed it for what it was. Yes, it was a little bit more dramatic and different from the books, but I do think there was still some subtle moments there, like again with Nynaeve, but also when Moiraine came in, she was practically dry, but she tried to like, you know, try to hold her hands like she was trying to get warm. And I thought that was cool because that's that subtle, like, you know, not as far as like being not ageless, but like not sweating, not, you know, feeling like cold or, you know, dry. That she, you can tell that she's different. And then of course she announced herself. But then of course, you know, that little look that she gives to everyone, especially the central ones, the Fab Five. So it was still a good scene, and I think it was still a good setup. I enjoyed it, so you can take it as what it is. The first episode, we definitely get, in a different way, a sense of why are the Red Aja after men that can channel, or why are they after this dude that is like mad. And Leandrin does mention, like, you know, women should be able to wield the one power, not men. So you're already getting this sense of, you know, okay, well, men can channel other than women, but they go mad. Like, what? Why is that? And, you know, they do like that, you know, short, you know, clip of Moiraine explaining kind of like the breaking of the world. And I'm actually kind of glad they did that instead of like the prologue that we got in the books, because I feel like that's better as a flashback. And I feel like for the character that becomes the Dragon Reborn, I think that also helps, you know, really emphasize the growth that this character does. One thing that that was a little bit of a disappointment for me was we saw the Fab Five interact in some way, shape, or form. And we actually saw them interact with a little bit between Lan, definitely Moiraine, more than Lan. But Nynaeve didn't really interact as much with the boys, like Matt, Perrin, and Rand. Just briefly. But because of how protective she is, it's kind of like we didn't really get to see that chemistry and that affection between them versus her and Egwene. I do appreciate the women's circle that were introduced as the Emmet Fielders, but again, we didn't really get to see enough villagers interact with the Fab Five, and so we don't really know them other than like their parents. And I think I wanted a little bit more of that. I mean, I get, and I feel like maybe if they had cut just a few minutes of bell time, we probably could have gotten that. Because I want to be invested in the Emmet Fielders. Like, I want to care that, other than, you know, the Fab Five's parents, except for Nynaeve, like Tam and, you know, Dalvir's and even Matt's parents, like, I wanted to care about other people in the village as well as them. Like, we didn't meet the Luhans, we didn't meet like, we saw Daisy, but we don't really know who she is. And the one dude that, you know, wound up dying, that Nynaeve and Egwene tried to save, I didn't really feel anything. And for Perrin, like his wife, yes, unfortunately she was a plot device, and it's one of those things where I kind of wish I had still met Perrin's family, because we didn't really even meet them really in the books either, and then we had to hear. So it's kind of like, okay, well, why should I care about her when I know she's going to be a throwaway? But I feel like it was kind of wooden. The chemistry just wasn't what it could have been. Like, I felt like they were both trying. Like, they were trying, but it wasn't, I didn't feel it. Like, I didn't feel it at all. And I think a part of me was kind of like blocked from it because I know she's going to die in the first episode. Like, why am I going to be invested in you? I'm invested in you because of Perrin, but not enough for me to really care about you. And, like, was she pregnant? That's what I'm not understanding. And then they have him accidentally kill her. What? So, that makes me a little bit concerned. Like, are we having emo Perrin now? Like, what? Because another character is supposed to be super emo when it comes to women. So I'm like, can we not? Because Perrin, how he interacts with women and what he needs to do later on, if they keep it that way, he's gonna need to resolve that fairly quickly, okay? That protected streak was already there, so I understand that, but that's a major conflict for Perrin. If this may be a different way of getting to where he needs to be by the end of the series, but was it really necessary? I would have been better, if she had gotten killed by a Trolloc. So we would have had a chance to grieve with him in that sense. But this double-edged sword of him actually accidentally killing her, really? Okay, all right, fine. Another thing that I'm trying to adjust to it, but one aspect of it was Matt's family. I'm sorry, but the Coffins are cool. Especially his dad. Like, did he really need to be like a womanizer, like someone that we should not like? I mean, I get the poor part. But did we really need to have him unlikable? I'm not really feeling that, but I guess, because I feel like, at least in the books, format, what kind of made him cool was some of the stuff that he learned from his dad, and he was proud of that. So that kind of takes it away from me, and I'm just like, what do we really need to, was that really necessary? But okay, that's really me being nitpicky. Some moments that were hilarious to me was definitely Nynaeve interacting with Moiraine. Like, that's typical Nynaeve. And I love Zoe Robbins already as Nynaeve. Like, her anger and her, like, stoicness and her stubbornness is already there. And I'm just like, just do it, Zoe. Just, you're already, you're already having that anger already. And it is explained a little bit more like her hostility. And can we talk about Gwen and Rand for a second here? I was again surprised when I saw the teaser trailer and they were like together, but it kind of makes sense that they would do it here. They would explore their relationship a little bit more, and it's like still like an innocent relationship. They both want different things, even though they still care about each other. So the fact that they have to they're moving in different directions, but they're still at least together in this journey. I kind of like that. I don't mind that they actually slept together. I feel like that kind of adds a dynamic to it, especially what happens later and who they wind up with. But that friendship will always be there. Tam is so awesome, y'all. Like, that scene where he does fight the Trolloc. Yes, he got injured, but that when the Trolloc attacked Rand and Tam in the books, that's when I was like we're doing this. I'm invested now, because I was yay, oh, happy go lucky, yeah, Emma Fielders, yay. And then I'm like, who? Oh, really? Okay. And then the Trollocs, the way the practical effects that were used, awesome, just totally awesome. I am super happy that they did practical effects for here, because they definitely make them more realistic and definitely more creepy. And then the Murdraw was definitely creepy. Yes, he looks like Voldemort. Yes, we established that already, okay? But that's kind of like a little bit how they look in the books, but they definitely look a little more menacing. And there are definitely sides to them that we will probably see in later episodes, because the Fate, is still hunting them. The Fate is low-key kind of worse than the Trollocs. Trollocs are kind of in your face. The Fate is kind of they're sneaky. And so one of the things that another thing that really stood out to me was, we actually get to see Egwene initiate in the women's circle. That was really nice to see. And I did like that. Again, they weren't really interacting with the other women, except for maybe a little bit when Daisy was like, hey, you drink with me. And backtrack to Beltane. Yes, I did appreciate, the women's circle kicking ass. I appreciate it, but why can't the villagers in general go after the Trolloc? The women's circle, yes, but can we have another little scene where we had men and women go after the Trolloc? Because Moiraine said old blood runs in these mountains. I wanted to see old blood other than the women go after Trollocs and just fight back. And yes, I will say this. I will say Perrin and his wife fighting against the Trollocs, that was actually really cool. that scene, and although I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, well, yes, they're fighting to survive. I'm like, does he really know how to do those moves? But it did make sense at the end of the day with when he went ham on that one child where he was just like, that, he was stabbing shit, like, and I think he did use an axe for that, which is significant. And there was this one point, of course, where, you know, I was surprised where Charlie took naive. I was like, wait, what? That did surprise me a little bit. I was starting to get emotional when Moiraine, you know, does her thing with the power, when it feels like that one Charlotte is going to get Nynaeve and Egwene, and she uses the weaves to slice that Charlotte in half, and we got guts and everything. I was like, yes! Yes! And then that moment, and that the music and everything that was there when they were like, and when Lan was like starting to circle, and then she was starting to get ready, like we were about to, you know, start some shit. So that part, that little moment for me was like really cool. That got me super excited. I was like, yes, he's about to kick ass. I was like, yes. So that moment was very like, I got really excited about that. And of course I got just as excited about that as I did when I saw the trailer when we did that scene too. I was like, yeah. And I did get a little bit emotional again because the music was going, and she's like, you know, doing her thing with the one power, and then you see Lan doing his thing, like, you know, trying to protect her. And unfortunately, even with, you know, a warder, an Aes Sedai can still get injured or killed. So even when he's doing his best to kind of like try and, you know, feel, you know, the movements and make sure that, you know, his instincts are on point, that was a perfect example of an Aes Sedai still getting injured. And so that was, you know, a good way to, you know, still establish that moment. Even though it still shocked me, I was like, I do recall her. No, I think she didn't necessarily get injured, but she did kind of like intake a lot of the poison that Tam did inflict when, you know, that he has in his shoulder or whatever. So that part, you know, was, you know, very true. And so just, you know, I think the first episode overall was definitely a starting point. But again, there were some changes that I felt I wasn't sure if I could roll with it. It was still an effective episode. If for a non-reader, you wouldn't have known anyway. So for a non-reader, I feel like it's still a solid first episode. There's a lot of action scenes, and it was very impactful. So I do think that, you know, it was solid. So I'm already at 19 minutes and I'm just talking about the first episode with hints of episode 2 and 3. So I'm going to have to go ahead and do a separate episode or separate video for episodes 2 and 3, because again, it's still a lot to unpack. And I feel like I want to try and do it in a limited capacity here. So yeah, catch me back for episode 2, my spoiler review. Catch y'all later, guys. Willcat 12, TeamJVS. All right, guys.